Programming Skills using C, lecture number 27. In this lecture, we will be dealing with structure data type in C. So in this lecture, you will learn about structure data type and write programs to input employee data and student data and process that data using structure data type. Now the question is, what is a structure data type? Now, as you remember, we have done this. We have processed the data of a student. We input the registered number of the student, then marks in 3 subjects, found the total, of course, also entered his name and found the average. And based on that, we decided whether the student had passed or failed or he got distinction, etc. Now, as you remember, all these are separate variables. There is one integer, there are integer type variables, there is a character type variable, character array, and a floating type variable. Now, this is for one person. Suppose I have got 20 persons, 50 students, then am I going to have an array of register numbers, array of mark 1, etc.? It becomes very cumbersome. So the question is, can we put these different types of variables together to form a new kind of data type? And that is the question we have. And the answer is affirmative. Yes, we can do that. So let's see how we can do this. For example, now we can think of a block here, which contains register number, character string, where we can store the name of the person, marks obtained in 3 subjects, total, average, and result. So we can do that. So how are we going to do that? So we are going to say that is structure. We give a tag there, student type, and put all these things together. So this becomes, student type becomes a structure in which there are different types of variables, integer, character array, and floating type variables. Now we can create a new data type. How do we create a new data type? I just say type def struct to student type. This becomes a tag and put all those related variables together and student. Now student becomes the new data type and it is structured data type. It is also called a record data type. So from here, structure student type, I get a new data type called student, which is of the record type, structure type. So we come here again. So now in general, I always say type def struct and then give a tag name, in this case the student type or employee type or complex type or poly type or different types. This is a tag is very important. This is a tag we are going to give, and we create at the end you say the new name of the new data type. In this case it is student. In the case of employee, complex, etc., or polytype or polynode, etc. We are going to deal with that in data structures. So this is how we create a new data type. It is of the structure data type. Some examples. So similarly, for example, I can create a new data type called circle, which contains 2 variables, the radius and the area of that circle. Similarly, I can create an employee data type which contains the EID, name, basic, all these related data in a variable called, in a data type called employee. And similarly here I've got one more data type called complex, which contains, complex numbers have a real part and the imaginary part. A plus bi or 2 plus 4i, that is a complex number, combination of 2 numbers, and therefore I can put them together and create a new data type called complex. It is a structured data type, and type definition, because of type definition, this becomes a new data type that is called the complex data type. So how do I create a new record type variable? We have a structure, we have a data type. From data type, I have to create a new variable or variables, array of variables later. So very simple. I've created a structure and created a new data type student. So just I say similarly here, I've created a new data type called employee. It's very simple. Therefore, when I say student S, so S becomes the variable. This is the data type, like integer, float, etc. We say int A, B, comma, B, etc. Similarly, here I use student as the name of the new data type, and S becomes the variable. S becomes the variable. Similarly, there's a new type of record variable. Similarly here, employee E becomes the new variable which contains all these variables. E is the record type variable and it contains all these variables. Similarly, S is the record type variable and it contains all these separate variables in that. Let us see how we are going to access, how we are going to input data into that immediately. To give an imagery, for example, if you go to a printing press, there are the printing plates are there. From the printing plate, I print a form. So print a form. This is something like structure. I don't store data into the structure. I create a variable called this form and in that I input all the data. Please remember that this is like structure. The printing plate is a structure and from there I create a variable form like as I've shown there. Employee E is the form. E is the form into which I can insert data, or S, which is student S. S is the variable. S is the form into which I can input data into various fields of that variable called S. So for example here, so for example employee E is there. E is the variable. E contains EID, name, basic, DA, HRA, tax, gross and net. All these variables are contained in E. So how do I input data into EID? So here for example, I'm giving example, scanf percentage D because EID is integer, then puts the ampersand E dot EID. Please remember E dot EID, E dot name, E dot basic, etc. Similarly, scanf percentage S. Now you know name is a character string, therefore no ampersand. You just put E dot name. And we come to basic is a float, therefore percentage F ampersand E dot basic. Then I have to calculate. I don't input DA. I have to calculate DA. How do I do that? E dot DA is equal to A basic, 20% of basic. Therefore, multiply by 20 divided by 100. Similarly, E dot HRA. I calculate that 15% of basic. Therefore, E dot basic into 15% gives you. Similarly, you can calculate or this gross and net, etc. That we will do in the problem we are going to work out immediately. So that is. So therefore, the problem you are going to do is create a new data type called employee with EID, name, basic, DA, HRA, tax, gross and net as field variables of the variables or fields. Use this data type to create a variable called E of employee data type. Input data, calculate DA, HRA, IT, gross and net salary and display the pay slip for the said employee. DA is 20% of basic and HRA is 15% of basic. Tax is 8% of basic. We have made it simple for the sake. So first thing you have to do is create this new data type called employee. That is done before the main. After this include stdioh, you create that structured data type or new data type called employee. Come to main and in main you are going to say employee E. So E becomes my variable into which I am going to insert all the data, etc. That is, and I'm going to show you here for the first time. Afterwards you are going to write these programs. As you see here, type def struct employee type. I've got all these data variables here and I've created a new data type and here I'm creating a new variable called E and I input for example and enter employee ID, employee name and basic salary. From there we same thing is here again. Then I calculate, I process. I have got the initial information. Basic is the only thing I have to input. Then you calculate DA, HRA, tax as you say based on this formula 20%, 10% and 8% and then calculate E gross is equal to E basic plus E DA plus HRA. E net salary is equal to E gross minus E tax and then you clear the screen because you have to print the employee pay slip and then you again the employee ID percentage E dot you have to printing now. There was scanning inputting data, here you are printing all the data etc and the information and you get a pay slip for a particular employee with the particular ID and his name. Here you have got the output. Here I am showing you the output. Here employee pay slip. So employee ID is there, name is there, basic salary is there and then DA, HRA, etc. tax you have calculated and gross pay and the net pay. So kindly do this. You are supposed to now complete this program, and then yeah, and execute that program, get the result. And this I would like you to do. We have already written and we have coming to this problem for the third or fourth time now about the student information system. I have explained to you how to create a new data type. With this new data type, you write the complete program to process data of one student and get the information of one student. Later we are going to do it for more students, and that I will show how to do that in the next session. And your task would be from here, write main, create student S, and then complete that program. First part will be the input section, where you are going to input student ID, his name, and marks in 3 subjects. Then you calculate his total, calculate average, then from there you tell whether the person has uh, passed or failed. Of course, you have got the results would be either he has distinction, first class, second class. We have all done all that. So repetition of that. And this thing is, in this case you have got e dot result. Result is integer. Therefore what you do is, if the person has distinction, you assign 0 to that. If it was first class, assign 1 to result. If it's second class 2, third class 3, and if he has failed, assign -1 to that variable called result in E. So that is what you are supposed to do. I think I'm going to give you the whole thing here. As you see, this is done for one student here, one student here. So student S, you are inputting, you are process finding total and average, and here you are finding out, as I told you, if the result, if he has got greater than equal to 80, he has got distinction O, 0, I go I first class, second class, third class, or the person has failed. Please note how you indent your code. If he has here, this is the condition for passing, and if he has passed, you decide whether he has got distinction or uh, first class, second class, etc. Only codes are put here. When we come to the printing of the marks card, then I convert this 0, 1 to, as you see here, I convert if result is equal to 0, then he has got distinction. If result is equal to 1, he has got grade A. Result is equal to 2, grade B. If his result is equal to 3, grade C. If he is equal to -1, he has failed. So this is the printing of the payslip. First you clear the screen and print the not payslip, the marks card. And here you have got the 2 examples of marks card. St. Joseph's College marks card. His ID is there, name is there, marks in 3 subjects total, and the average. Then it says the lesson has passed with grade A. Similarly here, this person has failed because he has got 25 marks in maths. He seems to be poor in maths. Ashok, and therefore though average is 41, he has failed. Ashok has failed. This is what you have to do. Write the complete program, test the program with different samples, etc. So that is your task for today. Thank you.